results of their work. A lot of people think you guys inspect fire escapes. I don't know why you're picking on this fire escape. The city official was just here 3 weeks ago and he didn't say anything about my fire escape. He didn't see any of those things you're picking out right now. And if you write a scrape and paint violation, you know what that guy's gonna try to make me do during the inspection? Give him one kind of quote. Scrape and paint. Typical 5-story fire escape, full of balconies 20 feet wide, full of stairs 2 feet wide, cantilever at the bottom with a weighted balance stair. 2 people are going to quote that scrape and paint violation, which you will never write ever again. He's going to call Bob the painter. Bob the painter comes down there and says, oh, what's the problem? He goes, I've got a violation from my inspector who never wrote me a violation on this thing. He picks on all this other stuff, but all of a sudden now he's got some bug up his butt that he wants this fire escape thing done. And he wrote me a scrape and paint violation. How much to paint this fire escape? The guy's going to say, I can probably paint this fire escape, depending if you want a primer and top coat or not, or just full black, anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000. And the guy takes a look at it, and he comes back down and says, listen, by the way, you've got some rust in your connections and stuff, so you should take care of that before I paint it. He goes, okay, well, I know a welding guy, or an ornamental line workshop right down the street, let me call them. So he calls, another guy, Mike, the welding guy. He comes up and looks at the fire escape. He goes, oh, you got a violation? Yeah. He's never written a violation on my building. I've been in this building for 30 years. All of a sudden now he wants this fire escape because he wrote me a scrape and paint violation. The guy goes, okay. But the painter guy said that it needs some treads, needs to replace some repair. He goes, okay. So the guy walks up and down and goes, that's not just that tread. All the treads are bad. I got connections, rails are ready to pop, cement work into the building. He goes, wow, really? He goes, okay, how much? He goes, well, I can repair and paint this fire escape because most of these ornamental guys are going to repair it and paint it. They're going to steal the job from the paint guy who's doing 3 to 5. He goes, well, how much to do this fire escape? That 5-story fire escape, depending on how bad, whether it's 25% rot, 50% rot, or 75% rot, can be anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000 for an average 5-story fire escape. So now he's got 2 quotes, and he's got your violation in the middle. What's your violation say? Scrape and paint. So who gets the job? Because you wrote a scrape and paint violation. But if you write a repair, paint, test, because you wrote the word repair and you mentioned nothing, the guy goes, repair what? What did you see? That I'll fix it right away. I have my handyman down in the basement. He's going to, no. I need you to have an investigation done by a structural engineer or a fire escape engineer. He needs to produce a report. He needs to share that report with me, okay? And then from that plan of repair with a permit, I will then decide whether or not I will order a load test. Because if the repair and refurbishment of this 50 to 75-year-old fire escape satisfies me, guess what I'm not going to order on you? A load test. Otherwise, the law on average says in Massachusetts, you know how often I have to load test your fire escape? Every 5 years by code. But if I refurbish it, do we need to load test it every 5 years? The average for load testing a fire escape after it's been fully refurbished is every 20 to 25 years. Okay? And that's you and the structural engineer having a face-to-face and discussing that this thing has been properly maintained, always been kept painted. So it's a new line in the sand.
How do you know it's been refurbished?
100% of the bolts got swapped out. 100% of the major structural bolts, all the treads got swapped out, all the supports got swapped out, all the railing bolts got swapped out, all the connections back to the building got swapped out. What about all the minor connections? You know, some of the scroll work or some of the little, no, that's minor structure. They keep their original rivets, they keep their original bolts, you know, a welded a bar, you know, those don't need to be done, they need to be tested with a hammer test. Now, I'll add one more piece here. All welded fire escapes, they only make up about 1 to 2% of all the fire escapes in the nation, and they last 25 years and then they rot out again. Because welded connections are not a standard for fire escapes, but they're out there. Every welded connection I encounter must be rebolted. Not re-welded, it must be rebolted. I don't care what the condition is of that weld, because you want to guarantee, my only way to guarantee that is to load test it or x-ray it. You know how expensive it is? You know, if I put a 30-cent bolt through it, you know what I have to do? Do I have to load test it anymore? Do I have to x-ray that weld anymore once I back it up with a bolt? So every welded connection I find, I will back it up with a bolt, and it eliminates the need for you to throw a load test at my client. Question?
What kind of bolts do you use? What's the material they're made of?
Very good question. You don't need titanium bolts, you don't need any gold bolts, you don't need any special bolts, you don't need grade 8, grade 5. I can take a tread, put it together, take a wooden peg and stick it in there and have you step all over it every day and as often as you want, and it's not going to do anything. What destroys a bolt is that when rust gets in between the connection and it grows, it rips the bolt open. That's it. So you don't have to have stainless steel, you don't have to have grade 5, grade 8. You can replace it with standard bolts.
When you look on the head of the bolt, you've got tags which tell you basically the strength of the bolt. There's little ticks.
Yeah, 3 ticks is a 5 grade. Yeah.
Right.
You don't need any grade. You need a standard bolt, which was what they used 100 years ago, is the same bolt today. A bolt will not shear. I'll give you a hammer. I'll give you a 3-pound or a 5-pound hammer, and I'll let you shear it for me. I'll let you pound the hell out of a tread until it shears, and you will hurt yourself.
What diameter?
All standard bolts for treads are 3/8. Then as you start getting up into stringers, it goes into halves and into 5/8. But it takes 4 3/8 bolts to hold one tread in place. And we'll cover that. I'll show you all that connections. City official, fire escape inspectors. There's only 2 licenses in the country for you to touch fire escapes. One's out of Boston, put out by the building department. One's out of California, put out by the fire department. I have both, but otherwise 48 states don't have anything. So if a fire inspector from Boston or from California wants to inspect in your state, you know what he's got to do? He's got to do the same thing I got to do. I got to send you my credentials. I got to send you my information. I got to send you my sample inspection reports and say, I'm qualified. I have these licenses. Will you give me the courtesy to inspect in your state? You know what you can say? No. I need a structural engineer. Say, great. Can I back my inspection up with a structural engineer stamp from your state? He goes, yeah. So a lot of times, believe it or not, some inspectors have to wake up a structural engineer who knows less than they do because you need to have that stamp. That's not a problem. But that's how you get around that in case we can't inspect in your state without having a structural engineer backup. We just get a local, or we have a structural engineer on staff that is licensed in 40 states. But that's how you can do it, you know. So some inspectors are going to try to inspect in your area from Boston. Very few are going to come out of California. But some from Boston will come in and work their way up here. And they have the right. They just have to qualify themselves with you. They have to give you credentials. I think it's on your sheet there. If you look at, if we were to speak with you, we'd send you our credentials. So let's take a look at this quick book, and let me tell you everything we're going to cover today. Every time I inspect, I have to send you one of my credentials. And way before I charge the client, I have to tell you, I've spoken with your inspector, and he has or has not authorized me to inspect. But I speak with you, and I say, hey, I teach classes. Here's my 2 licenses down here at the bottom. Here's my my credentials as far as what I've done and where I've done it. I usually send you a sample of my inspection reports, and this is what you're going to be getting with photographs and markings. I also talked about the lead law, you know, the EPA, that I'm going to be, make sure that whoever's fixing the fire escape has the lead law. If I need to draw any fire escape solutions, I send you samples of my drawing skills. So here's all these drawing examples. If all of a sudden we're going to put in a ladder or a spiral or a catwalk over a roof, I'm going to show you drawings of the typical fire escape connections, which I'm going to cover today, and how all fire escapes are connected into buildings. So I'm going to use these little diagrams to help you. I'm also going to have right up here typical load test criteria. So that you say, well, what's your load test criteria? Well, it's right at the top. You can't read it, but I'll blow it up into a full-blown page for you of load test criteria. Here's my inspection repair guidelines. So I'm going to tell you how I'm going to fix every tread, every support. There's a standard inspection guideline. These are the things that we'll give you so that you'll make any vendor, any engineer show up. He's going to follow these industry standard guidelines, which are available and can be viewed at the National Fire Escape Association website. How about this confidence test? Now, obviously, I've shrunk a lot of these things for sake of paper, you know what I'm saying? But here's a confidence test that's online as we speak right now. I don't have to give you this one. You can go to seattle.gov, go to their fire protection, fire prevention. But I'm going to send you this stuff anyway, so but you can go there and you look on the certificates. They also have a bunch of other certificates that you may want to steal. Sprinkler certificates, alarm certificates, and it's these inspection documents. But one of them that they have there is a fire escape confidence test. This is my confidence test that they basically copied every one of my questions and put it in there. And when you start looking at page 1, page 2 of this, it's pretty heavy questions for a structural engineer to answer. So we're gonna cover some of those questions today. The last thing that we did on here too is what's called the yearly. This yearly test, when you look at it, has 3 simple questions. You know who does that every year? The building owner, the management company. They hand you a document that says, I've had my 5-year, but here's my yearly, and all the pieces to the fire escape are working. There's nothing on the fire escape that looks bad. The paint looks good on my fire escape. And if there's any moving parts on my fire escapes, they're working. So every year the owner gives you a signed document that says, I'm on top of my fire escape. How's that sound? Okay, now let's take a look at the last piece of the puzzle here. Tags. Here's what the tags look like, guys. Now imagine, now who's using this? Seattle, Tacoma, New Jersey, Massachusetts. Is it a code? No. Is it a local, we call it procedure? Departmental procedure to put tags? Yes. So let's take a look at what's the intention of these things. And again, I'll show you in the class. Ready? It's the middle of the night, nice and smoky. You're going down a dark alleyway, and 7 to 10 feet off the ground, you have this thing up there. And what's it say? Fire escape has no difficulties. White. It's almost like walking into an elevator. It has a tag there that says what about the elevator? It's certified. So every time you walk around any building, so in your ordinance and in your city, every fire escape must have a tag. That's what Seattle did. Seattle's now going through the 3 to 5 year time frame that it's going to take to get every fire escape to have a white tag. And who does this help? Helps the tenants. Because when they look outside, they see a white fire escape tag. What's it say to them? They're safe. They can get on it. In the middle of the night, you guys running up to a fire escape, and they see a white tag. Oh, let's see if you guys remember the old, the gray-haired guys tell the new-haired guys with dark hair, in case of fire, don't use the... See? That's the word that's been being passed out for 75 years. And they say, you show up, use your own stuff. Go get the ladder. Go get the, wait for equipment to arrive. 3 to 5 minutes to a baby, to a mother, to during smoke inhalation. What kills people, as you know? The fire or the smoke. You don't got 3 to 5 minutes. So you get there, and all of a sudden you got to climb a ladder, you got to go up a stairwell, and there's a white one there. What are you going to do? You're going to use it. You're going to get up there and save that baby and that mother. All of a sudden, you're doing a daily walkthrough because you happen to be across the building. You look at this fire escape, and right there it says month, year, next due date, with 7 to 10 feet. That's 7 feet off the ground right now. Are you able to tell when the next inspection date is going to be? And if it's out of date, if you can read that from 7 to 10 feet off the ground, it's going to be right there. Nice and big and black, right? So you're going to be able to see on here when the next inspection date is without having to go back through your record. So this tag has an expiration date. That's when they pass and they're certified, when all things are great. 3 to 5 years from now, all things will be great in your city. That's how long it's going to take to fix 75 years of neglect. But this is not something we're going to fix overnight. We'll show you the program of identifying fire escapes. But you get there in the middle of the night, you get one of these. What's yellow mean?
Caution.
Caution. Should I go get my ladder?
Yep.
Yep. Now, it says that if you got a yellow, how many days you have to fix it? 30 days each. If your tenants are reading the back and you got a yellow, I think I'll hold up my rent if I have a yellow tag on my fire escape. I think there's going to be a little bit more motivation by the owner to get his fire escape fixed if he's got a yellow tag on his fire escape. You got a red one on the fire escape. What's it mean?
Now, who's putting these tags on?
2 people are going to put up these tags, and I'll explain that. But on this red tag, you jump on it, you get on it. Will the tenants, they see a tag that says the fire escape is out of service, will they pay the rent? The question is, who puts these out? We'll make these tags for you. We'll put your information and your name on here. You are only going to issue yellows and reds. The only one that can issue a white one is a structural engineer or a fire escape engineer. So you'll never put one of these out. You'll have white ones because everybody's going to want these tags with your city name on it, and these tags with blanks here. We'll provide those for you free of charge. They'll have your code here, your information. It's a very standard generic tag, industry standard tag. Now, who puts out if I'm an inspector, I will put on that fire escape after my inspection, I'll put a yellow, a red. I won't put a white right away, because I gotta send a certificate, I gotta make up a tag, and within a week to 10 days, a tag will be issued. But the certificate already comes to you. But if the fire escape needs repair, and usually 75% of the ones I inspect do, I will be leaving a yellow and a red, and I'll be contacting who? I will have conversations with who about what needs to be done next. I'm gonna try to convince you not to order on this client what? No, you don't want to order the load test. So what am I going to try to do in my sit down with you? Convince you of what? What kind of plan do I have? A good plan, right? Something that is going to satisfy you, because right now your first word out of your mouth on every fire escape you run across is load testing. And can I just load test it in the as-is condition? Any fire escape? No, I have to spot repair it and load test it. So if I got broken treads, whatever, I still got to fix those before I can even load test it. Because you're going to get some people that are crazy, they don't want to refurbish it. And what can you say to them? Then spot repair it, because your engineer is going to tell you what the spot repairs are, and load test the fire escape. Well, how do I avoid a load test? Full refurbishment. Well, why do you want a full refurbishment? The thing is great. The thing is 75 years old, dude. You've changed the doors and the windows on this building more than you've ever done the fire escape. These windows here, you probably got another 15 years before every one of these windows gets ripped out of here, and you got to put in brand new windows. You flipped your roof more times than this fire escape has been repaired. Because it's the bastard child of egress. I'll give you an example. You get into a building, and I'm gutting out the whole building, and I'm making it nice apartments and stuff, but I got this rear staircase that is just a pain in the ass, and if I had that extra space, you know, I could expand the closets, you know, and have some great bathrooms back there. So I do. I got, you know, this 5-story building and make 5 condos out of it, and I take the staircase out of the back. You know what I'm saying? And then here you are doing your final walkthrough, and you're going to give me the occupancy permit, and you walk in, and you see the first stair, and you're walking around the back, and you're like, hey dude, where's the second means of egress? It's an old rickety small stair. I took it out, and I blew it up into you know, additional closet space. You gonna let that building open? So if it's inside, you guys have this crazy thing in your brain that you'll freak out on that building, this guy's not opening it up, there's all kinds of, how can the building inspector allow such a thing? And you guys are gonna freak out, right? Same building. And now the fire escape's on the outside of the building. They spent $3 million gutting these 5 units into, you know, top end, and the fire escape didn't get touched once. Yet you look outside, and you see all the treads are still there, and but it's old. It's a 75-year-old building. And he doesn't have a certificate, and never had it, and he needs his occupancy permit, because everyone's coming in 3 days. You guys gonna freak out? Good. Normally you don't. Because fire escapes, everybody assumes they're gonna work, everybody assumes they're there, everybody assumes they're rock solid, everybody assumes. So you take a staircase out of the inside of a building, everybody freaks. You have a bad staircase on the back of the building, and everybody's got days to work on it. 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, you know. So as soon as it steps outside, it becomes, as we call it, the bastard child of egress. Out of sight, out of mind. Let's hope it goes back in a hole and cry and hide somewhere. But you guys now, in your day-to-day inspections, start making up tags. It's going to have your city name here. A majority of the time, you're going to put one of these with a zip tie on a fire escape, because when you're walking down, it doesn't have a tag. And when you look at it, you're going to start identifying square head bolts, rivets, which indicate that the thing has been refurbished in its lifetime or never been refurbished in its lifetime. If it has original square hardware, never been refurbished. Is it feasible that something could be out there 50 to 75 years and never had one bolt change on its treads? So minimally, can you throw a yellow on it without a problem? If you look up and you see a dangling tread, what did it just become? A red. 3-hole punch. You laminate it yourself. So you print these out in your, through Staples or in your own office on colored paper, and then you laminate it with your own laminator. And you have about 50 or 100 of these in your truck all the time or your car. And then whenever you run across a fire escape, you just tag it. Because for the next 3 to 5 years, you're just gonna start tagging fire escape. It's an awareness program that you started. Are you starting an inspection program in your city, or are you starting an awareness program in your city? Which one's gonna get less fight back? It's an awareness for who? For the tenants, and for who else?
For the landlord.
And who else? And the firefighters, so that they know the general condition of the fire escape in the as-is condition. So you leave yellows and reds. And when you read, the first thing it says on the yellow, if I'm the landlord of that building, I come and I see a tag, it says you can't remove this tag by order of the fire official. It says, number one, contact fire official, because repair permits, violation fines, and certificates may apply. Number two, have fire escape inspected. Confidence test by structural engineer, fire escape inspector, with reports, violation identification, and photos. What's the third step? Service and load test, all structural repairs to be done under permit as per report, oversight, and final confidence test. Can you eliminate the load test? Can you eliminate the load test? Otherwise, the word out of your mouth every day is load tested. They say, well, can I do anything else? I said, yeah, as a matter of fact, you can. You can spot repair it and load test it. Is there anything else I can do to give you the guarantee and assurances that you need for the tenants and for the firemen? Oh yeah, there is this one other thing. How about you refurbish this 50 to 75-year-old fire escape, which still has all its original hardware, which amazes me that when you swapped out your windows and swapped out your roof, you didn't swap out your fire escape. But that's okay, because steel is very forgiving. But I need that with a structural engineer, oversight, and a permit. You refurbish that fire escape back to a new line in the sand for us. I will not order a load test. How's that sound? Feasible? I'll pass these around back to you so you can take turns looking at what they feel like, what they look like. Guys, with so far in the class that I've taught, this fire escape, Fort Lee, New Jersey, pass or fail, just from the observation. I think so too. I think it failed. So why did the secretary call me and say, hey, can you come down there and look at this fire escape? Because I had a structural engineer's report on this fire escape. And, thank God it's a white one, because I took more photos than you could ever believe. Because very rare to get a white fire escape that has so much rust on it. It became a case study. But the case study on this was this part. Does this look like that sheet of paper that somebody says they got it? The guarantee, right? This is that guarantee letter you're looking for, right? There it is. Put that in the file. Will that save tenants and firemen? Does you putting this letter in a file save a tenant or a fireman? It gives the estate of these people who got hurt or killed somewhere to go to collect a bunch of money, but you still have to put somebody in the ground to collect on that lottery ticket. But this is the letter you can get. I'm not saying that all engineers are bad at what they do, but this is the bastard child of egress. 6 times the work, 1/6 the pay. So you can't get 2, 3, 5 grand for this inspection, right? Nobody's been looking at this for 75 years. Why all of a sudden someone's going to charge me 5 grand to look at my fire escape? Because that's what most engineers like. They do a foundation investigation, 5 grand, 10 grand. Building structural wall, blah blah blah, 5 grand, 10 grand. Bridge something or other is 25 grand. Fire escape, dude, you can barely get $300 to $500. So he wrote this letter. You know what he wants? He said, at the steel door, fix the door. Number 2, there's some platform straps that are bent, unbend them. Fix one tread and then give the fire escape a scrape and paint. Look at my report. Treads are fallen. Gussets, stringer gussets fully blown out with the rust. Treads on the ground. Channels eaten with rust. He gave you any photographs? Because had he said and sent this, hey, the fire escape is in good condition, a couple of things I need to fix. By the way, here's about 100 photos of the entire fire escape. And you started looking at these photos. Would you question this guy? So do any structural engineers provide you with photographs of their inspection of a fire escape? Never. Because had you seen the photographs, you would have freaked out. So guess what you demand of every inspection of a fire escape, so you don't have to go down there and check it out? A report. A report must carry what? Photographs. It says that on the confidence test. You must provide me with a report with photographs so that you and I can have discussions. You in your office, me in my office, and we can talk about what? The fire escape problem. Because right now, who has to convince you out of a load test? The owner or the structural engineer? Because every fire escape you're going to step on, you want the word guarantee, and the only word, right now, the only guarantee you're getting is coming from what? There's only two options to get you guaranteed. Number one is the ugly word, it's called load test. Is there any other options? Yes, there is. Spot repair and load test. What's my third option? Refurbishment. Under the guide of who? Who's going to babysit this thing all the way through to the end and still give you a signature guarantee signed letter? The structural engineer. So who's going to oversee the permit process? Who's going to oversee who's going to go there 3 to 5 visits while the thing is being repaired? You? You got time to babysit this thing? Because you got a guarantee. You say, dude, you don't want to spend. The engineer says, dude, what are you crazy? I don't got time to go down there 3 times and look at this fire escape and make sure the guy's doing it right. Gives you all that shit. Fine. Fix it whatever way you want, and I'll see you on the day of the load test. Right? Keep pulling out the trump cards. Oh, really? You really don't care about the tenant, all my firemen that are going to be showing up? Do whatever you want to it. Tell me what day of the load test. I want to be there. And if it passes the load test, we'll do it again in 5 years' time. How's that going to carry? Here's a load test, or criteria. California, this is all I have to fill out in California. I have to fill out this form. This is for sprinklers, alarms, for everything. And I have to describe what I'm expecting, and then I have to do a little write-up. I found that inadequate. So I started making up. There was no confidence test in the nation, so I created one. So every confidence test you find in the nation, I created it because it didn't exist. And it has critical questions on there. Okay? And the questions that you have in your confidence test that I showed you in your book came from these questions. There's a structural review and there's a general review. Yes, no questions. Not opinions. I don't want your opinion letter anymore. Is all the connections free of internal rust? Yes or no? Is the cantilever ladders, the balanced cantilevers in the ladders, do they drop 2 to 3 feet per second, hit the ground and stay down? Are all catwalks continuous over all roofs to a public way? It's all questions right there. The guy has to answer yes. Did you verify the connection into the building that is 75 years old, or did you just duplicate it to avoid having to verify it for me? Otherwise, give me a load test. You don't want to do all that stuff? Give me a load test. Fix it. Don't just load test it as is. If I get it on the day of the load test and I got rust in the connections and I got that, I said, dude, what are you doing? I'm going to load test it. No, you're not. For a load test, minimally, you got to spot repair it, then load test it. Because the only reason I'm letting you load test is because all the repairs were done, and all I'm really load testing it for is because every bolt is old. It's 50 to 75 years, it's original hardware. That's the only reason you're load testing it, and because the load test is going to verify the connection into the wall. Because if it passes, everybody's happy. If it fails, I got fire escape and wall on the ground, and everybody jumping up and down. And it's a circus. We're going to get the videotape, we'll get the local news station down here, and this will be great. That's all the load test is going to tell me. It either passes beautifully with flying colors, or there's pieces on the ground that we're all laughing about. Otherwise, there is refurbishment. I think it's about time we refurbish some of these 50, 75, 100-year-old fire escapes. I think it's time. You guys don't have 100-year-old hoses on your trucks, do you? You know what I'm saying? So, even though they work though, right? You can have some of these refurbished museum pieces that have the hoses from way back when, and you throw water through there, it will hold. Some of them won't though. Do you know which ones? Nobody does. That's why you replace them. You know, you basically, it has a lifetime. You think fire escapes were made to last unpainted 50, 75, 100 years? And that's what they've been. So these question and answers, basically Tacoma, Seattle, Chicago, Texas, we basically created a confidence test, and we put, for whatever city wanted one, we created a confidence test. So the test the one that we do for you, the one that we have here, and this is Tacoma's. Saying yes, no questions. No longer opinion letters. Yes, no questions. When you read them, it's simple stuff. It's not hard. It's not things you wouldn't expect from an instructional engineer to answer yes, no. So you can avoid the load test. You don't want to answer these questions, dude, then you're just giving me an opinion. Opinions put people in the ground. Tenants or firemen. But the great thing I liked about Tacoma that nobody else did, they also added the 1-year inspection, which I made it part of the, I married Seattle's and Tacoma's. And look at the 3 questions. Bolts and supports are not damaged or rusted. Paint is in good condition. And all moving parts, ladders, stairs, windows, and doors are operable.